Okay, let's talk about our bedrooms. It's our sanctuary, right? Like, no one is allowed in there. Well, you'll never guess what. And when I say that, I really mean it. You will never guess. My dad's new girlfriend tried to kick me out of mine, and then my house. What happened? I'm going to tell you. And believe me, it's like a courtroom drama series in here. I'm Dao. I'm 15. And first, you'll need to hear my backstory. Which is tragic, by the way, so be warned. I was 3 years old when my mom died. She thought it would be safe to cross the road, but the lights were broken, and the truck ran straight into her. Sometimes, I feel really sad that I was too young to remember my mom. Told you! After mom died, my dad tried his best to care for me, but it was really hard for him because he had to work as well. But before you get too sympathetic with him, I also need to explain something about my dad that will be vital later on. But you get by now how that's my story works, right? So, my dad, he's not a villain. He is loving and kind and funny and all that, but he is hopeless with money. He is the kind of person who buys a worn-out old car with their paycheck and forgets they have to live on it for a month, then spends next month's paycheck trying to get the car to work. He'll spend his last few bucks on a lottery ticket and swears his numbers will come up, but they never do. He'll get a taxi when he should take the bus and always orders the most expensive thing on the menu. You get the idea. Oh, and while we're at it, note my Auntie Lynn too for later. My mom's sister was the total opposite of Dad and always told me to save for a rainy day. She is really clever and just finished law school. She often visited after Mom died, but I could see she didn't think much of my dad. So anyway, thankfully, after my mom died, my mom's parents said that Dad and I could move in with them so they could help raise me. My dad was super grateful, and I was really happy because I loved my grandparents. But guess what? There's another tragic bit. I always knew that my grandparents were pretty old. Granddad died when I was 9. And Grandma when I was 12. It was really hard when they died, but I also felt lucky to have learned so many great things from them. Soon after my grandma died, we all got together to read the will, and to be honest, I didn't really know why I was there. But then, I couldn't believe it! The most amazing thing happened. I found out that Grandma had left all her money to Auntie Lynn, but she had left the house to me! I thought Auntie Lynn would be angry, but she wasn't at all. My grandparents didn't leave anything to my dad, because, well, you know. Then, in true That's My Story fashion, everything changed. Dad got a new girlfriend called Sheila, who used to be a hairdresser, so had all these outrageous hairstyles. It got pretty serious pretty fast. Sheila was always really nice to me, but I always felt like there was something fake about her. She told me I was pretty, and I could do beauty pageants if I liked. And she offered to cut my hair. I was like, hell to the no! Around this time, I was studying really hard for school exams. Sheila told me a pretty girl like me didn't need to worry about school. I could just get a man to pay for everything I needed. And she said that my room was the prettiest room in the whole house, and didn't it have a nice view of the garden and so much light and sunshine? A few weeks after that, Dad said he would like Sheila and her 2 kids to move in with us. I wasn't too happy about it, but he's my dad, so what could I do? Sheila's kids were pretty fun, even if they were super loud. But Sheila kept making comments about my room and how it would be more appropriate for it to be the master bedroom. And not long after Sheila moved in, Auntie Lynn didn't come around so much. I could see she didn't think much of Sheila. One day, Dad even asked me would I move rooms. He said he would do up the attic and make it really nice. I wanted to make my dad happy, but I really didn't want to sleep in the attic, so I said no. Sheila hardly spoke to me after that, but when Dad was around, she was all smiles. And then she started to become nasty, resentful. She'd say, "Nice room, shame it's yours." So I called Auntie Lynn and told her how upset I was, and how it felt like Sheila didn't want me in the house at all. She called my dad, and Sheila avoided me like the plague after that, and didn't mention the rooms again for a long while. But then one day, guess what? All together now, it got worse. Sheila told me she was pregnant. It did not fill me with joy, but I tried my best to look happy for her. But then, she said that the house would be really full with another person in it, and she and Dad had decided that I should move out. She said they would help find somewhere for me to live. Maybe I could move in with Auntie Lynn, as we got on so well. She told me that it would be best if I started sorting out my things, so that I would be ready to move. As soon as Dad was home, I begged him not to send me away. But Dad was confused, said nothing had been decided yet, and the house was big enough for all of us. It was Sheila! Sheila said the current living arrangements are not working, and she can't be under stress. Dad had to decide between me and her. So I called Auntie Lynn and told her everything. Auntie Lynn looked at my dad accusingly. Are you going to let her talk to your daughter like that? My dad looked confused and upset. He said, listen, let's be reasonable. When the baby comes, Dad will want peace and quiet to study. Maybe it would be better if she came to stay with you. Auntie Lynn said that of course I could stay with her. But isn't he forgetting something? Sheila had gotten me so confused and upset. But now I remembered. This house belongs to me. Me. Mine. Sheila said it was ridiculous, as a teenager can't own a house. She said I should do what my father told me, and Auntie Lynn said that until I was grown up, the house was actually in her care. Her parents loved my dad like a son, but they knew how terrible he was with money. And something tells me that Sheila didn't know. And you won't believe it. The next morning, Sheila was completely different. She was all like, let's be friends. We don't spend enough time together. But I told her it wasn't happening, and it was probably time for her to go if she wasn't happy in my house. What would you have done? It was my house. Anyway, to my surprise, Sheila and her kids packed and left that very day. And finally, I thought, maybe Dad and I could get on better. But when Dad came into my room, it was to say goodbye. He explained that even though he still loved me, he had to look after the new baby and love them just as much as he had always loved me. He was determined to do better with money and take more responsibility. I was hurt that Dad had chosen to go with Sheila, but I understood. And Auntie Lynn moved in with me, which Mom would have loved. And as for my dad, well, let me know if you want me to tell you if my dad did change or not. Comment and take a guess.